Hi guys, and welcome to this video on the total solar eclipse we have coming up on the 8th of April 2024. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today. The chart you see next to me here, that's a snapshot of the sky at the moment this eclipse takes place. So I'm going to analyze the chart to see what it's all about and how it's likely to influence us. And then I'll go through each sign of the zodiac from Aries through to Pisces to give you a specific message for your sign and how this translates for you specifically. Okay, so this happens on the 8th of April at 7:20 in the evening, and that's based on my time zone. I'm in Central Europe. But the thing about this eclipse is that you won't actually be able to see it in Europe or Africa or Asia, but you will be able to see it in North and Central America. So I mentioned that it happens in the evening, my time zone, but the way it shows up on the 8th, on the Pacific side of Mexico, it will start at 11. And then it moves on, it'll be visible over Dallas at 12 p.m., so at noon. And then it continues on in this arc, and it will be over New York at 3:25 in the afternoon. So what I'm gonna do though, is I'm gonna put a link to the NASA site in the description of this video, because it allows you to put in your zip code and it tells you exactly at what minute it shows up for where you are. So the thing about new moons and full moons, we have those every month, mostly, with certain exceptions. But with eclipses, the energy is much more significant because it hangs around for about 6 months. So the energy of this is really meaningful in the sense that it's going to color a lot of 2024 and what we experienced this year until October, right, pretty much. And this is in Aries, so it's all about pulling in a ton of fire, and it's going to really supercharge you and motivate you. And eclipses can either be on the north node or on the south node. And when they're on the north node, they're said to pull energy in. So not only is this a new moon in Aries, which is pioneering energy anyway being pulled in, but we have an eclipse on the north node, so it's doubled, it's squared. We have even more energy coming in. So this is going to be really, really intense. And the actual, in terms of the astrology, right? But in terms of seeing an eclipse, if you have time to take off to actually witness this, I would really recommend that you do. It's something that you'll experience for life. I remember it, I saw my first one when I was around 8, I think, and it looks like dusk in a way, but it isn't quite dusk. And it's this magical time where you're really just aware of your own existence and what's happening around you. It puts everything into perspective in a wonderful way. And it's kind of like, you know, the moon obviously isn't as big and powerful as the sun. And for the moon to block out the entire sun is a magical thing in terms of perspective and how the identity and how the self is kind of interpreted. So you get a kind of, well, this one lasts for 4.5 minutes. So you get almost 5 minutes here to really become aware of something completely new. And then often it can also shed some light on things you weren't aware of within yourself, and it can be incredibly empowering as far as bringing it back to you and what you're going to do with your experience. And that's an interesting point because we have the sun, which can be interpreted as the head, and the moon, your heart, your feelings. They're conjunct at 19 degrees, so they're sitting on top of each other in Aries, right? So the fact that they're conjunct means that there's perfect communication and alignment between the sun, the identity that you're striving towards, what you want to embody in future, what really draws you, right? And the moon, what you naturally feel already, what you can tap into. So with this, there's no kind of question around the self needing to change, but the energy I feel is really focused outward, and it's about how can I use my passions, my desires, my plans for the future, and how can I make those happen now. This is really, it's very willful, you know. Fire is an element that has to do with your life purpose and what you do care about, right? So it's necessary that it's super intense, because sometimes you have to fight to realize your own hopes and dreams. You have to fight for what you want to create at times, right? Not always, but sometimes. So it's justified, but the downside of fire is that it can be very destructive, and it can get out of control if it's not managed properly. And with this, it's really important to set some goals. I mean, a new moon, which this is also, as well as the eclipse, but a new moon is a wonderful time anyway to set intentions and to plant seeds for the future, because the moon usually does go black, right? And it's a time where it rests and it pulls new energy in. And a new moon is associated, like for instance, if you have one in your birth chart, then it will give you the energy of the pioneer, the person who innovates, the boss, the leader. And we've got so many things going on here that are about pulling energy in and kind of supercharging you. So on one level, this is exciting because whatever it is you have planned for the future, or what is important to you that you really want to implement and where you may have to jump through some hoops, right? You'll want to tackle those. You know, you'll want to grab the bull by the horn, so to speak. But on the downside, it means that if you aren't specific and if you don't focus this energy kind of wisely, and instead you overwhelm yourself, it can come out the sides and it can become destructive. So it's important to set 1 or 2 goals, the things that are most important to you at this point in your life, and to ask, how can I make these things happen for real, in earnest? Okay, so let's see what else is happening. We also have the asteroid Chiron, which is the wounded healer, that sits on this new moon in Aries, also at 19 degrees. And that really is, what can you do? How can you use your energy to heal yourself and to give yourself this sense of completion? And whatever that is for you, if it's, I'm looking for something that I don't have already, or I want to build something, or I want to create a legacy, or I'm looking for the ideal partner. But really what's interesting and what's key is the words I, which come up a lot, and want. And that's what Aries is all about. It's about using all your fiery energy to channel it in one direction and to knock down the doors that are blocking you from getting you what you want. So yes, it's powerful. Yes, it can help you get to where you want to go, but it's not particularly considerate. It's the opposite. It's hard-headed, and it's really focused on the self and where the self is going. So this isn't really about considering other people or your relationships, or sitting back and reflecting and saying, you know, how can I improve things with the people around me? This is about, what is the big plan for my life? And what can I do in my life to give it meaning? Like, why am I here? Like, really? Like, I'm here on this planet. I've got no instruction manual. I'm supposed to do something with my life, or I feel that within. What is it that I'm actually going to do? So it really opens up kind of your future, and it's asking you this big question, as in, what is going to give you a sense of fulfillment in life, and what can you build, and how can you make a dent and have an influence on other people? And I don't think that's something everyone is kind of going to resonate with. You know, some people are going to be happy to enjoy spending time with their family and to, I don't know, do other things. It's not always about I have to accomplish something or I have to build something. But when it's in Aries, it really is. It's like, who's standing in my way? And how can I use my muscle to blast all of these people out of my way? So it's longing for conflict. It wants to push and to be pushed back on. So the question is really, what is the most frightening thing? What is the biggest thing that I could ever do or get involved with that is daunting because it's just so big in scope? That's what I'm now going to look at and put energy into over the next 6 months. And because of this eclipse, you won't be scared off, and you'll be very pleased with the outcome. Because the other thing that must be said for Aries is that it certainly gets from point A to point B, regardless of what's in the way. It all gets knocked to the side. It also opens things up if there's anything in your life that is stalled or that isn't going as planned. Revisit that and approach it as in, this is I'm starting all over again. I'm making a fresh start. This is all about the new and making progress. And with Chiron on top of the new moon, there's this bigger picture now, is this is what you ought to do for a personal sense of, I am healed. And that then is an interesting point, because you could argue, well, what does actually work to give people a feeling of being healed? And I think that's going to be different for everybody. We also have Mercury sitting on the eclipse, and Mercury is the communication planet at 24 degrees, 2 and 4 is 6. In numerology, that's a temporary opportunity. And in Aries, it's again, I want to implement my ideas, I want to express my viewpoint, I want to have a voice, and I want my thoughts and feelings and beliefs, I want those to matter, and I want them to exist outside of me. I want to express them somehow. So it's very forceful, and it's very much about how can I heal myself, how can I assert myself, and how can I win, basically. Aries is also very much about competition. The North Node then, which is pulling in even more energy, and in a natal chart, the South Node and the North Node, they show me where you're coming from on a spiritual level and what you've already mastered and the direction you're moving into and what the aim is, right? So it's pulling in even more Aries energy. So the concern I have with all this fire is that if it's not channeled, it can come out the side and it can cause a lot of conflict and frustration and dissatisfaction. Like if you suddenly get this burning desire, like you make this happen, but for some reason you can't because, I don't know, you're abroad for a year and you can't do it till you're home, or it's something you really want to build and create, but again, you have to put it off maybe until the kids are older or whatever it may be. If you can't do what you want, that can really get on your nerves here and can make you take it out on things which are completely unrelated. So if you do find yourself getting a little irritable or frustrated, then just be aware of that and set certain goals for yourself that are attainable, that you are passionate about, but make sure that you have like a things for the future list, at least 1 or 2 things on there. So in this case, the North Node at 15 degrees in Aries says, use this as an opportunity to, and I don't, the phrase in itself is, it implies the rat race and competition, but it's the message to get ahead somehow. So if you have a passion, a desire, and it hasn't worked in the past, revisit that and ultimately get what you want here. We also then have the eclipse opposing the rising sign in Libra at 28 degrees. So all the energy is being pulled onto this side of the scale and the other side of the scale is left up in the air. We had another eclipse recently on the 25th of March. There was a full moon lunar eclipse in Libra, and that was much more about integrating the desires that you have for yourself with other people and kind of working in tandem, right? And it was the moon was blacked out. That was in the shadow. So it's like I get to reflect on my feelings. What's being blacked out here is the identity. So the sun in Aries by the moon in the same sign, and it's a re-evaluation of the self and how it's using its own energy and how it's moving forward in life. So you see, if everyone has this attitude though, then you know when you're pulling into the highway, the motorway, and it's that thing of no one lets you merge in because everyone has to get to the destination first. So this solar eclipse, yes, it's an opportunity to re-examine the self, but if people I think accuse you of being, you know, selfish or self-absorbed or something, this certainly is a time where a lot of people are going to be self-absorbed. And I would say it's although, well, I think that's warranted because you can really make plans here for how you're going to develop and how you want to see yourself grow over the next 6 months. And another person would argue that's actually very wise to do that because, you know, you want to, maybe you want to get to a place in your life where you have more options, for instance. You know, you've worked 20 years and now you want to get to a place, or you set the goalpost that in 20 years time I want to have the option to work part-time, for instance, or whatever it may be. So I feel this is excusable. So if you need some time for yourself or you want a little bit of downtime to just have this amazing experience and to reflect, your kind of position in the world. For me, the way I always remember this, when I was like 8, we were out, I think I was outside a swimming pool, like a public swimming pool, and the eclipse happened, and everything turned purple, right? And it was one of those pivotal moments where it's like the universe makes you so aware that you're actually one person standing on this giant blue ball in the middle of nowhere. And it was just like, wow. It really it was also something, this is something that you're experiencing. And again, it kind of put the lens on myself in a weird way. So, you know, like with astral projection, when you leave your body and you're looking down on yourself, it's that kind of experience in a way where you're detached somehow, and then you get to redefine and use that energy in a much more precise way via this Aries. Okay, so what else have we got? We've got the new moon then forming a quincunx with black moon Lilith at 20 degrees in Virgo. And to me that says I'm not so interested in analyzing things or looking for signs or guidance via my environment. I'm certainly looking within. I'm accessing the inner library, and I'm not so interested in doing anything that takes me away from that. So again, if you have to balance your day, just have patience with yourself and be generous with yourself. Things that you don't want to particularly do will be a bit more arduous than usual. We have Venus and Neptune sitting together. They're near each other. They're not conjunct. Venus is at 4 degrees in Aries. Venus is the planet of love and beauty and creativity. And that is looking to build something beautiful. It says also, similarly to the eclipse, I want this and I want this and I love it and I'm going to grab it. I'm going to have it. It's as simple as that. Me, what I want, what I would like. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus, and that's more about the collective consciousness and love on a much broader level. And that's very different. It's at 28 degrees in Pisces, and that kind of soothes things a little bit. It kind of makes it does make you consider other people. It tempers all of this energy that's self-focused. And then we have two other things in Pisces which I also feel help, particularly Mars, which is the male planet of desire and drive and ambition, which is the ruler of Aries. And that's very disempowered here at 13 degrees in Pisces. It's much more kind of zenned out and blissful and harmonious and charitable. And Saturn is structure and security at 14 degrees in Pisces. It's also about having a sense of everything's going to be okay. In spiritual truth, I know I'm taken care of. So yes, I can move forward with my life. Yes, I can make things happen. Yes, I can build and create. But I'm also aware that if things don't go exactly as planned, that it's not the end of the world, and I don't have to blow up and destroy the whole thing because I don't immediately get what I want when I want it. Okay, we also have Pluto. That's a 1 degree in Aquarius, and Pluto is transformation and change. And in Aquarius, I love this era that we're in because it's now about the world getting bigger, not the world, the sense of connection in the world or on the planet gets bigger, and it's about what do my actions, how do they influence other people, and how can I be of service, and how can I do something that's for the greater good. So you see, again, sometimes you need to be really in that Aries energy and make things happen and kind of push things forward, even if it's like a charitable outcome. Like for instance, if you're setting up a foundation or like anything that ultimately helps other people, or like a school, sometimes you have to ruffle a few feathers to get that set up and structured and built and people hired and all these things. So I think that's a nice way of combining all of this Aries energy into how can I use this unbelievable amount of power and create something that then at the same time benefits me but also the greater good. I think that would be the best of both worlds here. Let's see what else. We have Uranus and Jupiter, they're in Taurus, next to Mercury. Jupiter is good luck, good fortune. And Uranus is the unexpected and it's the chaotic and the things you can't really predict, also in Taurus. So that says that there's a pliability around your ideas and a and a sense of your environment. And you may think that I'm just talking nonsense here, but hear me out for a second. I feel that the planet is responsive to our thoughts, right? So and again, don't quote me on this, but I think I read somewhere that it's been proven, like through physics or something, that if you look at a glass on a table, like a glass of water on a table, the actual makeup of that glass changes because it's being regarded by you. And I think the whole planet does that on a greater scale. So if you have certain beliefs about yourself and certain plans for the future, I think here, especially with Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus, it's almost like the world is listening to you, what you're thinking and what you're considering at this time. And it makes it possible to find some sort of way in. So, you know, then it's the kind of vibe where suddenly these weird coincidences start happening, what other people call synchronicity, right? So I've just thought about this and I've just discussed it with a friend, and then suddenly I've got a letter which has been sitting there for 6 days, for example, right, that I haven't seen, offering me exactly what I was just discussing. It's that kind of thing. So you may argue that, okay, Greg, it's a bit of magical thinking going on there. But that's what I'm saying here, that this eclipse, it isn't just like some boring event happening. It's really, it's a marvelous, miraculous, it can be a life-changing event. And certain people, they follow eclipses around, you know. And if you're re-evaluating the inner planet, the inner world, then as far as I know, via the laws of this universe that I've come across, it would also then mean that you can re-evaluate the outer world and what your experience in it is. I don't know, you may think I'm reading too much into this, but I have wondered at times, and this is just kind of reminding me about that, is like, if another consciousness would inhabit this body, what would it look like? You know? I've always wondered that. Like, so if some sort of a consciousness that was really into, I don't know, physical exercise or boxing or something, was living in this body, what would it look like? And that question of the identity and the self that lives within. Oh, what kind of what kind of impact does that have on my physical reality, my physical self? So these aren't just like nothing ideas. These are ideas that can show up in your body. Yeah, that was another thing I've read recently, that I think, what was it? I can't really remember. But there was a transfer of consciousness or something. And then the actual, oh yeah, I read one of the June books recently. And there was a transfer, it's like science fiction fantasy by something Herbert. And the consciousness itself impacted the body in the sense that it suddenly just became heavier just because the consciousness of it. So again, I just find that kind of thing interesting, and I find it relevant because I think the way we see ourselves within does have an impact not just on the vehicle that moves us around on this planet, but the planet itself. And I think this is a magical opportunity to reevaluate who you are and how you want to appear in the world. Yeah. So let's see, anything else? Yeah, but again, it's my ideas and my will over reading messages and being informed. It's really about getting to know what burns brightly without any explanation within you and how you can expand that into the world. Which is a nice image as well, I like that. Strongest mode is Cardinal. Cardinal, again, leadership, the pioneer, the boss, same as a new moon. So we've got loads and loads of energy that really puts you on a pedestal and says, ta-da, look at you, what are you going to be? You know, what's your statue going to look like in the sense of what you want to build? Anything else? The strongest element obviously is fire, purpose, passion. So I'm going to have a look at each sign of the zodiac now to see specifically how this translates for you guys. So Aries, this is obviously a very empowering event for you because it happens in your sign. Follow through on any kind of ideas that you get for business, for investments, or self-employment. Also, anything that's related to your income or your career, Over the next 6 months, you'll be able to make loads of progress in that area specifically. And you're also likely to experience some sort of growth in terms of your income over the next 6 months. Taurus, for you, the next 6 months are really enjoyable and you're going to feel motivated but not overwhelmed at the same time. You can kind of pull in the reins on this and kind of control it really well. If you listen to your gut, Taurus, if you keep it simple and you simply just go in the direction of what motivates you, you're not going to go wrong, and your optimism for the next 6 months is really justified. You're going to have a fabulous time. Gemini, you may feel like things aren't as moving as quickly as you would like here during the eclipse and moving forward, which is kind of telling and ironic because this eclipse, it really supercharges everybody. What I said, like there's the potential for conflict, right, if it's not used properly. So it kind of means that you're still ahead of the game here. You're still moving more quickly than most of the people around you. So have patience, but also realize that you can get things done very quickly. And if you have a lot to do, make sure you use this energy to get things ticked off. Also, anything that's more like a long-term process, like starting a legal process or trademarking or registering, anything like that, in terms of it will take a while. Look into that. You can handle that very easily and very well. Cancer, if you have a dream for your work, whether it's a promotion or becoming more successful in what you do, you'll be able to fulfill your wishes and your desires in that area over the next 6 months. So it looks really good for you in that area of life. Leo, you're going to become really interested in learning and exploration here, and in stepping outside of your norm and discovering things that are completely new and fascinating. Take any opportunities for travel and education that kind of present themselves. Over the next 6 months, it'll be really empowering and enjoyable to kind of pursue those kind of things. It'll make you feel like I'm alive again. Hooray, this is a celebration. Virgo, if you've had difficulties recently with work, taxes, or any kind of bureaucracy, officialdom, legal things, you'll notice that the pressure eases off and you'll feel less pressure moving forward over the next 6 months, particularly from big institutions that you have no control over. Any independent projects that you can pursue over the next 6 months are also supported and can yield great results. And the key thing there is independent projects. So what can you do on your own, Virgo? Libra, things are really heating up for you in the area of love and romance. Also expect some new people to come into your life who are on your wavelength. So it's new friendships that suddenly appear out of the blue and you understand each other really well from the get-go. So expect your social life to get bigger over the next 6 months. Scorpio, allow yourself to be taking care of people who love you. You're likely to provide a lot of support and help to people in your life who you care about. So I think here during this eclipse, but also the next 6 months, I think you may have a few moments where people are expressing their gratitude for what you do and what you've done. So if you have a lot going on at the moment, again, for you, it might be a good idea to ask, who could help me with this? Who could give me some support? And if you do that, I don't think it's going to take you very long to come up with a name. And I think it's a good idea to do that, to ask for some support of you and what you're doing. Sagittarius, you're going to find that the next 6 months are enchanting. You're going to find someone, something, or someplace that makes you feel like you've come home. There's going to be a wonderful sense of contentment. And you know that feeling of, how did I get so lucky to have this in my life? There's really a sense of, I've made it, I belong, this is what I wanted. So it's interesting, you see, because this Aries eclipse is fire, and Sag, you're fire. So for you it launches you ahead the furthest. It's amazing. Capricorn, anything that requires other people to be on board, that's going to become very easy for you to manage and organize. So family as well as working relationships are likely to be uncomplicated or less complicated than they usually are. And you're also able to influence them and manage them more easily. So it's about you shining in your relationships. So anything that requires, again, people in order to function, make sure you focus on those kind of areas. Aquarius, the next 6 months and starting here during the eclipse, it's a really great time for you and your connection to the public. Anything that involves communication or invention or the realization of an idea, you'll really excel in those areas. And the kind of archetype I've assigned here is you're a great project manager who can delegate, and you have a knack for publicity, PR, advertising, marketing, the internet, social media, anything like that. If you are in one of those jobs or your job involves any of those areas, pay more attention to that. You'll be able to get more done, and you'll also have a greater interest. And then finally, Pisces, make sure you don't go overboard with the in your finances over the next 6 months. Like if you have a tendency to overspend, really look out for that. The Aries energy for you may feel a little bit too stimulating. And if you have a tendency to act out or to get frustrated, pay attention to that. And also avoid anything where you notice yourself getting somewhat excessive and overdoing it. So for you, it's really important to have a specific outlet to say, this is what I'm going to work on for the next 6 months, to avoid anything like that. Okay, so that's what I get for you guys during the eclipse. I hope it gives you an idea of how this will influence you and what you're working with. If you'd like me to look at your birth chart and analyze your natal chart, then I just need your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth. If you don't have the time of birth, then order a chart rectification with me, please. That's a process where you send me 10 or more really significant life events, like things that you feel have shaped you, and then I can manually work out your time of birth if you don't have it. But by analyzing your birth chart, I can really give you a sense of what you're naturally good at, what the ideal jobs for you would be, life purpose, relationships, your roots, finances, relationship with institution, travel, education, anything at all really. The chart is so insightful, it's amazing. And also, if you're questioning what's coming up in future, or you have specific dates that you want to check out if they're good for certain things or activities or projects, then I look at the progress chart and transits to see how you've changed over time and what's coming up over the next couple of months and years. And if there's anything around location and moving, I also look at the astrocartography. So if you're interested in any of those, then please do get in touch with me for a personal reading. Please do make some time and check that link I'll put in the description to see when this happens if you're in North America, and really give yourself the chance to experience this if you haven't already. It's really magical, it really is. I can't emphasize that enough. Okay, so I hope you have a wonderful time. Thanks for joining me for this video, and I will speak to you soon. Check out some of my other videos. Every month I do videos on the new moon and the full moon. I do the weekly horoscopes. I do a daily tarot reading. If you want to watch that, please consider becoming a member of the channel. That is available to members. And I also do monthly horoscopes usually, but I'm moving in 2 weeks, and I have been so busy I haven't been able to do them. I think the last one was in February, so for March and April I haven't done them, but I will do them again once things settle down, so watch this space. But have a great time here, and I'll speak to you soon. All the best, take care.